Another cool and overcast day. It's another big planting day for me today. These are some of the seedlings in waiting, which are some spring cabbages. What else have we got? Some calabrese and some kohlrabis, some lettuce for the greenhouse and outside in a protective area. But today I'll be taking down this coriander and chervil, some Chinese cabbages. There's a load of spring onions. The cornflower aren't quite ready to go out, so they'll come back home. Some desperate lettuces with some pak choi at the end of the row. But across here, which you probably can't see, or you can just see the thread, is a humongous great spider web. So I'm going to have to deal with that just before I go. I have a phobia with spiders, so I'm going to have to deal with that before I can get the seeds and take them out to the car, ready to go down to the allotment. So I'll see you on the allotment shortly. I talked to you about doing 4 sisters, or even 3 sisters, because I normally do 2. The lettuces I think worked really well, and I would do that again. But where I've put the beans, they gave fantastic crop. However, with all the beans that we have in the garden anyway, we didn't need extra beans, but also the weight of the beans broke some of the stems of the sweet corn as they were climbing up. So this is all a very big tangled mess. And also the leaves, there were so many leaves, not only from the pumpkins or the squashes, but also from the beans, that the things at the top that needs to fall onto the sweet corn couldn't get past them. So some of the sweet corn weren't properly pollinated, so they had some erratic corn in it. So my conclusion on all of this is I don't think I will do, I won't do 3 sisters with beans again. It's really hasn't been very successful for me, but for people that have got either larger spaces or less space to grow in, it might be an option for them. But we had other beans that we could call on. It really did too much damage to the young corn as it was growing. And as you can see, the mice, squirrels, or some rats, have also been competing with our sweet corn. But we've had some absolutely beautiful stuff from it, so I can't complain. But all these experiments are all a learning curve for next year. So I've cut down all of the sweet corn and taken out all of the beans, and there are 8 really big pumpkins here, and I've just pushed them back. So I've pulled them back so that I can prepare this ground ready for planting, as I've got some lettuces and I want to sow some radishes and some mooli. So I planted them here, but I've been trying to cut down some of the growth, and as I was doing that, there's one that's not going to be going anywhere, but I did find 2 in here on top of the gooseberries. So that's 10 from that bed, which is fantastic. I love so 10 in this bed, and I absolutely love Crown Prince squashes, our favourite. This year it's been a funny old year entirely for growing, so this is where a lot of the little plantlets will go, but we still have our pumpkins in. We took out all of the sweet corn to give some air and some light on the pumpkins so that they can ripen up, and we can take them home. I can't make up my mind whether or not to cut them and just take them home. They're not quite ready yet. They need to ripen a bit longer because these are still very green. These tops here, these tops are very green still. So ideally I'd like them to ripen on the plant. But the negative side to all of that is I've just noticed, and I don't know whether you can see this, sorry about that, some marks, which means, hang on there, it looks like the rats have found them, or the squirrels have found them, and I don't really want them damaged because at the moment they're lovely. So these are some of the seedlings, the little plantlets that are going in today. So some coriander, they do really well over winter, and some chervil. These are the chervil, these are the coriander. Lovely looking healthy plants, looking really good. A few Chinese cabbages to keep the succession rates going. And over here we have some spring onions, a few trays of spring onions, some lettuces and some pak choy. On this tray this is some corn salad. They're a bit small, they won't be being planted today, so I shall take those back home with me. And I'm going to sow some mooli, radish and some turnips as well. So we're clearing the plot, ready for all of this to go in, and yep, it's going to be a busy day. Today's job, well, one of the many today's jobs, is also taking out the borlotti beans, taking all this and clearing it and cropping these beautiful borlotti beans for soups and stews. There's one very sad courgette. So we'll take all of this out, prep the soil. I've got some spring cabbages at home that will go in here as a continuation of this small bed that needs netting properly, which I'll do once I've finished this bed off. So that's another job, and these are lovely, aren't they? So pretty. I mean, we don't eat very many borlotti beans, but I really like growing them because I love the colour. I love seeing them in this autumn. Is there something that you grow on your allotment that you don't eat very much of, but you grow just because it's beautiful? Let me know in the comments below. The Cavallonero have been eaten to death, and even though I've got these cages on, so I couldn't quite work out how come. And then I realised they were just walking down here. So now I've put these sticks up and they're beginning to recover. They don't like red things, so the red charred kale, oh, you can't quite see those. The red kale are doing fine, so they haven't eaten those. They also have had a go at these lettuces. So I've put something up now. I've got to do something a bit more permanent, but they're pecking. These are little gems that will be picked as whole lettuces that will keep us going. I haven't touched the Russian cow, red Russian cow, and that's coming along really nice. They've started eating the spring cabbages, and that's partly because the netting, this netting is temporary, and what they're probably doing is sitting on top and having a picnic on the leaves. So the sooner we clear this area, the better, and we prep it and get the rest of the spring cabbages in, and I can net this properly, the better. But until then, it looks like we're going to be sharing the spring cabbages. The growth on these small pumpkins are beginning to die down as well, so it won't be long till this area is cleared. These were the wonderful, fantastic cucumbers that these were the wonderful cucumbers that just produced and produced and produced, and they're very sad now, so they will come out as well. So we'll clear all of this space. Before I do any planting, I'm just going to hoe these lettuces. You can just see some small weeds coming up, and a little bit of hoeing gets rid of, sorry if the camera's jumping up and down, but I'm trying to do it one-handed. It just gets rid of those small weeds, keeps everything down, and keeps the bed a lot cleaner and clearer, so you don't have all those weeding problems. It'd be easier to be no dig if this was a piece of land that I owned, but we're surrounded by lots of plots here that are very weedy, and all the seeds blow in, so it's a lot easier to grow here no dig, but it would be even easier still if this plot of land wasn't on an allotment site. But these are the small things that we have to contend with as we are all little growers. Because we had some rain last night, it's going to be quite easy making the holes for the lettuces to go in. So I shall do that quickly, and then I'll show you this space once I've got it planted up. And I plant these lettuces the same as I do in my other vlog. I showed you how I planted the spinach. So all the kind of seedlings I plant in the same way. So I won't bore you with another planting, but I'll show you things after. So I've given a little hoe between the lettuces that were originally planted, and then after the 2 rows of lettuces I've planted a row of cos lettuce. They were in the seed trays a little bit long, so I don't know how they'll survive, but I probably won't use these as cut and come again. I'll just let them heart up a bit and take them as whole lettuces. That will give some space then to the coriander and the Chinese cabbages. So the next row are some Chinese cabbages, which will be coming out in a few weeks' time, and therefore freeing up the space for the coriander that I've planted up next to it. And then I suddenly realised at the very end of planting it up that I should have saved a few plants to take home and pot up, so I've got some at home, particularly when the weather is really bad and you might not want to come over and pick. So note to self, save a few plants to pot up for home. And then when I realised that, I planted a few of the chervil, and I'm taking home a few plants to pot up, so I've got a pot at home. And then a row of spring onion guardsmen, which are quite hardy. I've never grown them before, so I'm interested to see how they come up. Yeah, so that's all the plants in now. And I shall just look and see what other space I've got in case I have enough space to plant some radishes and some turnips, but we'll have a little look. Look at the beautiful chard, such stunning colours. I love this chard. I mean, I'm not overly keen on the eating of it, but the growing it and the colours from it are absolutely beautiful. Whilst I really enjoy vegetables with fantastic taste, I also enjoy the beauty of them just as a plant.